外星人是真的耶! It is now an undeniable fact. And with only 42 days left in 2024, from Kendrick ruining Drake to Diddy getting thrown in jail, by the way, there have been no new updates, to Trump dodging bullets and teaming up with Biden to retake the White House, and then most recently, the world heavyweight champ getting his ass handed to him by a Bayline YouTuber in my own hometown. This year is the gift that keeps on giving. Real talk. 除了今夜一起为爱鼓掌 Netflix 真的没什么比 real life 还要精彩耶 And now it seems like Christmas has come early. Because just recently, Congress held a very public hearing which changed the question from are aliens real? To what dimension are these niggas from and how do we fight them?
These are strange times.
So buckle up, get that 爆米花 ready and hold on to your butts. Cause this is gonna be a wild one.
Just say it!
真的是代志大条 So now, in hindsight, I think we can all agree that Trump's most important pre-election interview was when he appeared for 3 solid hours on the JRE, because it was filled with a lot of fascinating and shocking information.
When people look at it from the outside and you sort of imagine what could be a reason why they would not release those files, it would be there's people that were implicated in the assassination.
When there are living people, you generally tend not to want to do it. When people are still living for the government and living people that were somehow involved in it, and you tend not to do that, it's time to open them. I've opened 50%. But I was asked not to do it, but now I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it very soon. There's a lot of interest in the people coming from space, you know.
Yes. How much did they tell you about that?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
What did they tell you? How much can you tell?
So
how's that work? Is it like super top secret? Tell me.
Now, did you notice Trump revealed 2 very crucial pieces of information? Firstly, that whoever was involved with the JFK's assassination is still alive and living and working in the US government, which means that possibly, most likely, almost definitely, it was an inside job. And secondly, when it comes to aliens, he's gonna reveal all that shit.
So when you were talking to these people, was this something that you were compelled to have conversations about? Was this your personal interest?
A little bit. It's not a great interest for me, but it's a little interest. I get that question as much as almost any question. Do you think that we have aliens coming, flying around or whatever?
What do you think?
I mean, there's no reason not to think that Mars and all these planets don't have life, because
Mars, we've had probes there and rovers, and I don't think there's any life there.
Well, maybe it's life that we don't know about.
Now, this part is really interesting because Trump, who used to be the US president and is about to be again, has already seen them files.
It's true.
And when Joe Rogan brought up the subject of extraterrestrials, Trump, to everyone's surprise, actually responded. And right when he was mid-sentence implying that there are other life forms that we may not know about, Joe interrupted him. But he said just enough to let the world know that there is some other stuff out there that we don't know about.
But I did interview, let's say 3 or 4 guys and without tremendous interest, if you had them, as I said, you'd love to have them as your children. Solid, beautiful people. They said, sir, there's something there.
There's something there.
Said it, yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to quite a few of
them.
them.
They're not conspiracy guys.
Now, when the president, former and future, comes out and says that the people around him say that there is something out there, that this is not a conspiracy, you know this ain't no science fiction. This is real. There is intelligent life out there that we don't know about, and some of them are right here on Earth. Now, during his first term, Trump was probably a little bit reluctant to come out and directly say, there are aliens, really beautiful aliens. They're very smart people. And we don't know much about these aliens, and I know that I won't deport them because most likely they'll vote Trump. Because once a trusted government official comes out and says that aliens are real, that means they gotta start answering a lot of questions. And if there's even a single question that they can't answer, the ops are gonna come for their ass. So believe it or not acknowledging that aliens actually exist is a political issue. But considering that this is Trump's second and last term, that means he can say whatever the hell he wants. From who shot JFK to who's on Diddy's list and even on Epstein's list, and whether or not aliens exist and what the hell they are doing here. You can already imagine what 2025 is gonna be like. But in the next chapter, you're gonna get a very sneak preview, because what was revealed in the US congressional hearing was some absolutely wild shit. And when I say wild, I mean that we've already made contact with aliens and possibly even pissed them off.
Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies. Over the last decade and a half, I learned that certain UAP programs were and are operating without any of these elements. Although much of my government work on the UAP subject still remains classified, excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos.
This is Luis Elizondo, a former official of the Department of Defense and former director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, aka ATIP. Put it simply, he is the Tommy Lee Jones character in MIB. And after resigning from the Pentagon in 2017, he became responsible for figuring out exactly what UAP are. And what he ultimately discovered is that the US government wasn't too forthcoming about what exactly was going on, and they were less than willing to share it with members of Congress. And as a result, he became a whistleblower.
Mr. Elizondo, in regards to these aircraft being piloted by whatever they might be, non-human biologics, would you agree that it's likely that they are being piloted by some mind-body connection?
Ma'am, I think it is safe to presume here that they are being intelligently controlled because some cases seem to anticipate our maneuvers, and in other cases they seem to I came across an email where the word "stalked" was used in a very secure email between Navy officers discussing their ships being pursued by a UAP.
So this is Congresswoman Luna, and last year she was involved in the hearing involving David Grush, where he revealed and confirmed the existence of UAPs. And after having some very private conversations in some very secretive and secure locations, she now has a very different set of questions.
In our previous panel, we had Grush, and he had testified to say that some of these were interdimensional beings. Can you speak on that at all?
Ma'am, I'm not qualified, certainly as a scientist or otherwise, to speculate points of origin. I looked at everything from a scientific perspective. So if you look at, for example, instantaneous acceleration, which was one of the observables of the program that I belong to, ATIP, the human body can withstand about 9 G-forces for a short period of time before you suffer negative biological consequences, blackouts and ultimately redouts and even death. Comparison, our best technology, the F-16, which is this older platform, but one of our most highly maneuverable aircraft, manned aircraft made by General Dynamics, can perform about 17 or 18 G-forces before you start having structural failure, meaning that the airframe begins to disintegrate while you're flying. The vehicles we're talking about are performing in excess of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 Gs.
Fuck. Jesus. Not only are these fools not human, but they probably come from another dimension?
That's crazy, man.
Now keep in mind, Congresswoman Luna has already heard detailed testimony from David Grush inside a skiff. And what she's doing now is cleverly allowing the public to know exactly what the hell is going on in the form of Q&A. But make no mistake, she already knows the answers to the questions she's asking. She just wants you to know. And what Lewis is about to say next is absolutely wild.
Hold on to your butts.
So would it be safe to infer that they're living craft?
I'm not prepared at this point to state for the record is something alive or not, because even that definition is hard. There was a time in science we thought that life required oxygen, and we now know that's not true. There are anaerobic bacteria that thrive in oxygen environments that lack oxygen. And so also the same with photosynthesis. When I was in college, I was told everything is derived from photosynthesis as a form of energy. In reality, that's not true. There are things that live off of chemosynthesis. So we're constantly having to reevaluate our understanding of what the definition of life is.
So do you remember back in the previous chapter when Rogan interrupted Trump while he was about to imply that there are other life forms that we don't know about? Well, given the fact that Trump's security clearance is probably well above Luis Elizondo's, I think it's safe to say that these two are on the exact same page.
Okay, the reason I ask is because it seems like, just based on our conversations, that we've had people that say that there are good and bad of whatever these things are. And so my concern from a national security perspective is A, that true? B, are you guys hearing the reports of that? And C, I think moving forward in regard to technology, Mr. Gold, if you can answer this real quickly, some of these aircraft, it seems that they are operating off of energy that we don't currently have. But just yes or no, in your opinion, if we were able to obtain that, would that impact humanity for the better or negative?
Would certainly save us some money on funding on Artemis.
Definitely.
And this is a national security issue, that if there is such technology out there, we're not the only country that might have access to it. We don't want to be on the wrong end of technological surprise.
Now, because she speaks pretty fast, you might have missed the first part of what she said, not asked. She said that there are good aliens and bad aliens.
Think, Mark!
And then she went on to imply that whatever power source these aliens are using is an energy we don't have access to, which means these fools got their own intergalactic alien power plant, yo.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
Does the U.S. government have any reverse, okay, we already answered that question about retrieval programs. Do any U.S. contractors have the same?
I would prefer to address that in a closed session, ma'am.
So to be clear, the program that Congressman Nancy Mace is talking about is an all but confirmed secret operation run by the Pentagon known as Immaculate Constellation, which is basically the US government collecting spaceships like Pokemon and trying to reverse engineer them to make weapons.
In your book, you mentioned government employees who've been injured by UAPs placed on leave and receiving government compensation for their injuries. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How can the government deny we have recovered craft if they're paying people because they've been injured by recovered craft?
Ma'am, that's a great question. That's why I think we're here again, because I've seen the documentation by the U.S. government for several of these individuals who have sustained injuries as a result of a UAP incident.
It's a crazy idea, right? The hypocrisy and the logic.
Let me get this straight. So multiple agents were injured while retrieving crashed UFOs? This could only have one of two possibilities. Firstly, the government agents were injured while trying to transport a UFO from point A to point B, and somewhere along the line, either something leaked out or maybe they cut themselves on this shit. And the second possibility is something that's even more crazy and what I personally would like to believe. That MIB agents got punched in the dick by aliens.
In the discussions, it's simply about material, or is there discussion about it was previously testified that there was biologics that were collected. Are you aware of any of that?
I am, sir, aware of the reporting that biologics have been recovered. Again, my focus was more nuts and bolts, looking at the physical aspects of these phenomenon, how they interacted around military equities and nuclear equities. So I'm certainly not a medical expert. I would not be able to probably provide you a whole lot of value in that simply because I don't have the expertise.
But was anything described as that we have possession of bodies?
Yes.
We have is it multiple types of creatures, or?
Sir, I couldn't answer that. I can tell you anecdotally that it was discussed quite a bit when I was at the Pentagon. The problem is the supposed collection of these biological samples occurred before my time, in fact, before I was even born.
And was this part of the Lockheed Martin discussion, or was this the biologics is a completely separate?
Separate yet related.
So the government has been in possession of alien bodies since before this dude was even born. And my man looks to be about 45几岁. So that means we have had alien bodies resting in the freezer since at least the 1970s, yo. Or maybe even earlier. And maybe they didn't crash here. Maybe they got in a fight with some US soldiers.
Welcome to Earth.
And if any of this turns out to be true, this could spell diplomatic disaster in all caps.
Has anyone made contact?
Sir, I'm sorry, could you specify?
Has there been any, to your knowledge, any communication with a non-human life form?
So the term communication is a bit of a trick word because there's verbal communication like we're having now. The problem is you also have nonverbal communication. And so I would say definitively yes, but from a nonverbal meaning, when a Russian reconnaissance aircraft comes into US airspace, we scramble two F-22s, and we are certainly communicating intent and capability. I think the same goes with this. We have these things that are being observed over controlled U.S. airspace, and they're not really doing a good job hiding themselves. They're making it pretty obvious they have the ability to even interfere with our nuclear equities and our nuclear readiness.
Okay, so we already know the SOP of how my country operates. If anything unidentified even comes close to a military base, we're gonna shoot first and ask questions later. And if we can agree that attacking is a form of communication, then surely it must be the aliens' fault for approaching a U.S. military base in the first place, right?
Well, considering, and I understand that there's a need in some cases to keep certain technologies secret, but you believe that it is posing a threat to our personnel, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I think it's reasonable to conclude that if there's a threat to our personnel who are serving our country faithfully, that there be oversight.
100%, Congressman. And in fact, that's the one thing that we've not talked about enough during this hearing is the fact that the government executive branch not sharing with Congress what it knows about UAP infringes on your legislative and oversight responsibilities to such an extent that's very concerning. I mean, what else are we, if you look at national security or intelligence or foreign affairs or appropriations, you all have oversight and legislative responsibility regarding those. This UAP issue may be the greatest issue of our time, and it's being hid from you.
So as you can see, the US government has officially classified aliens as a threat. Rough translation, from destroying UAPs to killing aliens, to reverse engineering their technology to create our own weapons, we have pissed off the aliens.
You done fucked up now!
this is now officially an intergalactic, possibly interdimensional diplomatic nightmare.
What's the key takeaway, just a few seconds, about the Immaculate Constellation document you provided us today?
I think that what the American people need to know is that the U.S. military and intelligence community are sitting on a huge amount of visual and other information, still photos, video photos, other sensor information, and they have for a very long time. And it's not those fuzzy photos and videos that we've been given. There's very clear
high res,
high resolution.
How many visuals, graphics, videos, photos?
I mean, I've been told hundreds, maybe thousands. I mean, I also wanted to say, because there was some conversation around concern around the revealing of these materials, revealing the source collections, but some of these are shot from helicopters using normal videos of oceans. I just think that's absurd that somehow you're going to be revealing some secret U.S. technology by revealing that you've photographed orbs off the coast of Kuwait.
And America has recorded it all in 4K. I bet Trump has seen it. Shit, I bet even Biden has seen it. Maybe that's why that fool lost his mind. So here's to hoping that Trump stays alive long enough to get his ass back in office and fulfill his promise. Not of deporting illegal aliens, but of revealing the intergalactic aliens. And as much as we Americans love to believe that we are the center of attention, something tells me we ain't the only ones covering this shit up. There are other countries involved.
Goddamn right.
But I want to know what you guys think. Are we in desperate need of a real-life Avengers or Justice League? And will World War III quickly become intergalactic, interdimensional War I? And most importantly, what other wild as fuck shit could happen before 2025 even comes? Let me know what you think down below. Remember to like, subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace!